Now we will present our next speaker, Professor Dr Mohamed Bedair.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. أهلا بحضراتكم. Our guests from Arab and non-Arab countries, welcome to Egypt. We are happy to have you in this conference. As we know, the theme of our conference is to achieve solution to achieve the sustainability for food, and also we should maintain very important point is the safety of this food. So my topic of my speech will be about the very important point is the contamination of aquaculture, fish aquaculture in two governorates, which are known by their high production in tilapia fish. Tilapia fish in Egypt poses around 65% of the total consumed fish, and it is considered very important source of protein. And in Egypt also, the production of fish is depend on the drainage water, agricultural drainage water, because the Egyptian Ministry of Irrigation prohibits the use of River Nile fresh water in fish farming. And so it is this industry is depend on the agricultural drainage water. And as we know, agricultural drainage water may be contaminated by several kind of chemical and biological contaminants, and also it could be also mixed with some industrial effluents, which is highly contaminated with other chemicals. So based on these facts, the fish aquaculture, which depends on this drainage water, could be accumulate these agrochemicals, including pesticides and heavy metals in their bodies, and it can pose a risk for human consumption. This photo shows the source of contamination for this drainage water. And for our study, the aim of the study, based on my introduction, is number one, to evaluate the seasonal variation in this kind of contaminants, heavy metals, during some seasons, and consequently to assess the potential risk for the exposure to these heavy metals in fish. As I said, we have selected two main producing governorates, Kafr El-Shaikh and El-Faiyum, and we selected 5 farms from each governorate. So the total for the first season was 10 farms. This is Kafr El-Shaikh sites we selected. And in our study, we sampled fish and water also to determine the water characterization. And we sampled from the inlet and in the pond, and also from the outlet. Okay. The second governorate is El-Faiyum governorate. It is also famous by its high production for tilapia fish. We selected 2 sites from El-Faiyum. Karon Lake is famous, and also Wadi Rayyan Lake also. And in the left side, this is the sampling sites from Karon Lake, and in the right side is Wadi Rayyan. Okay. For the first season, we sampled in September, September 2021. This represents the summer cycle for fish production. And as I mentioned, we selected 10 farms for the first season. And for the second season, we selected 2 highly contaminated farms from each governorate. And we monitored 10 heavy metals And we calculated the risk assessment based on the guidelines of US APA. And the obtained results were as follow. This is the first season, autumn 21. We found that three elements were highly contaminated in fish. The most important is arsenic, because arsenic is highly toxic, and manganese and zinc. These elements exceeded the maximum residual limits for in the 10 farms. This is very interesting. In the summer cycle, which we sampled in autumn. This figure shows that arsenic and manganese and around 30% of zinc, their levels exceeded the maximum residual limits in Kafr El-Shaikh. And also in Faiyum, it is very close to Kafr El-Shaikh. While in the second sampling time in spring in 2022, we found that, sorry, this is mistake, 22. We found that most of elements are in the safe limits, except two farms in Kafr El-Shaikh. There, the level of manganese exceeded, but manganese is not risky like arsenic and other toxic metals. And this is also the levels for the exceeding manganese in the farms. And El-Faiyum was safe. For the calculation of risk assessment, we found that there was a potential risk from the exposure to the samples of fish that collected in the summer season in both governorates, Kafr El-Shaikh and El-Faiyum. And this is a hazard index, which is a summation of target hazard content. So as you see, it is exceeded 1. And for the second season, we found that the limits were in safe level. So it is very interesting. The conclusion for my presentation or for my study, that arsenic was a predominant element, while lead and cadmium were the least abundant elements. And luckily, the mercury was not detected anywhere and anymore. This was very good. And for Kafr El-Shaikh was highly contaminated as compared to El-Faiyum, and autumn was highly higher than spring. And as I mentioned, there were a potential risk from the exposure to samples of autumn than spring. We have some recommendations that the agricultural drainage water should be treated before being used in aquaculture to avoid the bioaccumulation of these toxic or agrochemicals in fish bodies, and which can consequently pose a human health risk. Aquaculture that use low quality water should apply some eco-friendly applications to reduce or mitigate this kind of contamination, like using some kinds of biochar to eliminate or to absorb these contaminating agrochemicals. As in my research project, the first step was to evaluate the status of contamination, and then to apply some eco-friendly application. And finally, my project was funded from the STDF under the project code number 4184, eco-friendly application for mitigating the toxicity of organic and inorganic contaminants in agriculture farming system. And I'd like to thank the funder STDF for supporting us to achieve this project. And finally, these results were published in Toxicology Report Journal. And I'd like to thank you for your listening. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Mohammed. Any questions, please? Yeah, please.
Actually, in the summer producing cycle for fish, as you know, we has economic crops like cotton, like maize, and like linen, and this, and also that the high temperature and high humidity is encouraging many plant diseases. So it is normally to apply high or extensive use for pesticide, and also we apply much amount of fertilizer for these economic crops. So this pesticide and this fertilizer is contaminated by heavy metals. Yeah, so that's why in the summer cycle, the level was higher than in the winter. Yeah.